On the agenda tonight, first of all, I'd like to say a massive thank you to everybody who's commented and emailed and everyone who's requested this video tonight. We're going to be featuring Eddie Money, who unfortunately passed away yesterday, so I've been inundated with requests for this one tonight. Also, just before we start, for reference, I'm going to be playing his performance of Two Tickets to Paradise from 1982, and there's a reason for choosing this track because it is one of Eddie's original tracks, so it means that if there are any adverts on this video, the ad revenue will be going to whoever Eddie has left in charge of those royalties to be picked up. And I'm going to have the adverts off, as I always do, but if there are any adverts on this, it's not me that's making any money from it. I just want to make sure that if there are adverts, it's going in the right direction. So, without further ado, let's get Eddie up on screen and see how he gets on. I'm just going to jump in here because the thing about Eddie when he's performing, it's having that natural confidence and putting the crowd, everybody watching at ease, because there are so many artists that sometimes when they come on stage, they can look a little bit awkward or they're nervous about their performance. And that kind of thing does communicate through the performer into the crowd. And Eddie was one of those guys that just got straight on stage and addressed the crowd like a single person. So everybody that turned up to watch a gig, it's like he's just singing to you, because that's the way that he communicated across the mic. It's such a personable way of doing it. And all the top singers, top performers, top artists had that ability to connect with an audience straight away. And putting that under the spotlight, it's not something that you can learn in a music textbook, that between songs you're going to be great because you've learned from that textbook how to do it. It's a personality. It's just something that makes you likable, and some people have it and some people don't. And Eddie certainly had it in spades. He also had the vocal ability, multi-instrumentalist as well, the ability to write great songs. And putting this song under the spotlight, because we've got a great band here, of course, and we've got Jimmy Lyon on guitar, great guitar player, and can really sell those lead lines and lead solos when he plays. We've also got the saxophone doubling up on our main melody lines, and that's something that Eddie has written into this song, is the call and response between that lead vocal and the saxophone, but also the lead guitar. So it means that we're always filling in spaces with hooks, and that's what all the great songwriters can do. And having a hook that is memorable and melodic is really difficult to do as well, because it's so easy to overplay and throw in too many notes, whereas we've got a great melody in the response to this lead vocal. The thing that Eddie has written into this composition that makes it such an interesting journey is the rhythmic changes that we go through, because listen out for those verses. We've got that bounce from root note to octave in the guitars, and the bass follows suit as well, but it's a constant rhythm. So we've got dum dang dum 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 dang dum 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 dum. It's constant the whole way through. As soon as we get to the chorus, we've now just got 3 strums on the guitar, solid rhythm, solid accents. So that change is so dramatic rhythmically from one section of the song to the chorus, that chorus just stands out so much. And that's what you want from a chorus. That is the main thing that every songwriter across the land is trying to achieve. Obviously, he's got a great ear for melody, so the melodic component of that vocal that he puts over the top of that rhythmic change is going to make it stand out as well, because it's simple and it's easy to sing along to. And when I mention about singing along with the chorus, because it's so simple melodically, and that's the genius of it, we've just had a section where the crowd can sing along, and there have been so many great songs that have that kind of section in there. So here we've got the section where you can sing along, whoa, 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 like that. And it's so simple melodically that everyone can get involved and you can repeat it. And it sits in such a great place range-wise, so that you can just shout it out in the crowd if you want to. And that's what Eddie can do to an audience. He can get you involved, not only because of his personality, but because of the way that he wrote. But let's get back into the performance. I've got to take it to my body, baby. Disappear now. Waited so long. Waited so long. Waited so long. Waited so long. Taking everybody with me. Good night. I'll see you again too. Thank you very much. And there we have it. Just a great voice, full stop. Eddie had one of those voices that you could listen to all night because of the expression in there, not taking any shortcuts in terms of going to head voice instead of belting out chest voice. You can hear in this performance that Eddie is just full out the whole time, and a little bit of rasp in that tone as well. So vocally, not only obviously composing and putting together a great song, great melody, but having that vocal individuality about his sound is such an important thing to have as an artist. This song, when it was released in 1978, went to number 22 in the charts, and Eddie hit the ground running because this is from his debut album, just called Eddie Money, and the first single released from that album was Baby Hold On, and that got to number 11 in the charts. So straight off the bat, a couple of huge hits. But let's also put this into perspective, because he wasn't young at this age by no means, because he would have been 28 or 29 when that album hit the charts in the late 70s. But this is a track that turned into his signature song, and he wrote it about his girlfriend at the time, because his girlfriend's mother didn't want her daughter to be dating a musician. She wanted her to date a lawyer or a doctor, and it's just about Eddie wanting to take this girlfriend on vacation. And I'm not sure whether that actually happened and that he was allowed to take her on vacation, but that's just what he said, that he had 2 tickets to paradise if she would come with him. The single version of this track was different to the album version. It's just something that happens to make the songs a little bit more radio playlist friendly. I think the single version was just over 3 minutes, but the album version ran for 4 minutes. And I think on the album version, there's some slightly different guitar lead parts in there as well. But this album, his debut album, went to number 37 in the charts. As I said, massively successful, and it went 2 times platinum. And the follow-up album, Life for the Taking, was released in 1979, and that got to number 17 in the charts. So that was a huge hit as well. It went platinum, and by this time, Eddie was 30 years of age, so it wasn't as if he was a teenager and got a break early on and then just was a musician from then on. He'd actually started out with an idea of following his granddad and his dad and his brother into the New York City Police Department, but he also had an idea that he wanted to be a musician, and at the age of 19, that's when he moved to California and started to chase that dream. And he performed in bars and venues in the San Francisco Bay Area, and after doing that for a while, he got spotted by Columbia Records, and that's when he signed a contract with them. So Eddie was in the position of signing a record deal when he'd been out there playing. He'd been on the road effectively for around 10 years. So Eddie was already the complete article when he signed the record deal. Unfortunately, Eddie was one of those artists that did struggle with addictions, and in 1980, he overdosed on a synthetic barbiturate and alcohol, and he damaged the sciatic nerve in his leg, so much so that he couldn't walk for a year, and it left him with a permanent limp. In 1982, which is the year that we're looking at the moment, that is when Eddie released his album called No Control, and that was a huge hit again. That went platinum. It got to number 20 in the charts. There was a track from the album called Think I'm in Love, and that was huge as well. That got to number 16 in the charts, but also got to number 1 on the mainstream rock charts. In 1983, Eddie was going through problems with drug addiction again, so unfortunately his career was on a bit of a decline until 1986, and that's when he released his album called Can't Hold Back. And there was a track on that album that was a duet with Ronnie Spector, and that was called Take Me Home Tonight. And that was a huge hit. It got to number 4 in the charts, and it got to number 1 on the mainstream rock charts. So with this return to success, in 1987, he was nominated for a Grammy. In 1988 is when he released his album called Nothing to Lose, and there were a couple of really popular tracks on that album, and one of those was Walk on Water, which got to number 9 in the charts, so a top 10 hit, and also The Love in Your Eyes, that got to number 24 in the charts, and it got to number 1 in the mainstream rock charts. And in 1990 is when he released his greatest hits album, album, and that's called The Sound of Money. And one of the tracks, Peace in Our Time, that did really well. It got to number 11 in the charts, and it got to number 2 in the mainstream rock charts. So throughout the 80s and 1990, Eddie consistently charted highly in the main chart, but also dominated that mainstream rock chart. As I'm sure you guys can appreciate, it's going to be impossible for me to cover everything in one small video that Eddie achieved musically throughout his career and with his songwriting as well. And just to finish up, last month, Eddie did share with everybody that he had stage 4 esophageal cancer, and he had been a long-time smoker, and unfortunately, he passed away due to complications with, I think, heart valve surgery, and that was only yesterday, so September the 13th, 2019, and he was 70 years of age. But again, we can look at these videos, we can listen to his music, and the music will live on, and these videos will always be here for us to take a look at Eddie Money and be able to see the natural performer that he was, the natural showman that he was, but also the musician, the songwriter, and somebody that you just smiled when you watched him perform because he was so good at what he did. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video, and thank you for all the emails. I had so many of them, and I'll see you guys at the next video. Rock.